Well, I seen these towers in person, but I never got to film them. So here's one with an FH324 dual strobe at the very top, and it's got side markers. This one's a monopole. So yeah, this one's been abandoned. Now here's the second abandoned monopole I've seen in person. I just never had a chance to film these towers. So yeah, this one's beaconless. Now here's the 911 tower beside a water tower, and there's a ham radio tower and a cell phone tower right here. This here's the 911 tower, and then yeah, there's the water tower. Now the water tower has two marker lights at the top, and then the 911 tower has a Hughley and Phillips dual strobe. So here's three beaconless monopoles. Now these ones here are at a highway intersection I seen when we was taking a wrong turn, and then we somehow ended up at the right place we was supposed to visit. Now I was actually supposed to visit the site to this tower. It's got a dual strobe, and then I didn't know I didn't discover this monopole until we actually drove down the highway in person and seen this. And this is another beaconless monopole. So here's a microwave dish tower in the distance I seen, but it has one of those LEDs, FTS 370, or it could have a Drake light, maybe a dial light. And here's four monopoles, and yes, this one here's abandoned, with the one beside it, and there's two small ones right here. But yeah, they're all beaconless. Now here's a water tower with an LED. I forget what it said on it. It had like these sailor antennas with the top platform that had a bunch of big words on it. So yeah, I seen this one down in the valley, like off to the side of the major city, when we was going down through there to see something in place. Now here's two small monopoles that almost look the same, but they have different platforms and antennas to them. Now I kind of like this duo because it was one of the rare duos I seen, and like the Legacy Towers in Nashville. So yeah, Nashville's full of those one Legacy Towers that has the two single strobes. And here's a broadcasting antenna with sailor antennas on it. This kind of reminds me of that WJKR 103.9 antenna in Columbus, but this one has a strobe, and FH3, I think it's in FH308. But it now has like a red beacon that goes into night mode even. Here's a water tower, and then a cell tower. Now there's two microwave dishes on this cell tower, and this one's beaconless, but the water tower has a beacon to it. It's got an FH324, no side markers. Because usually in water towers that beacons, they don't have side markers. And then here's another tower in the distance across from these ones, at a highway intersection, when we got halfway to what we needed to visit. So yeah, there's lots of them at highway intersections because lots of people go through there with cell reception. And here's a water tower with the 911 antenna on it. So this one's been repurposed too. It used to have a big cell antenna platform, but it was taken down, so they can make space for the little antennas. Now here's the second set of four monopoles I've seen. They're all beaconless too, kind of like the other one. Now these ones here behind storage unit facilities, and yeah, there's two of them over here. Now here's a water tower beside a red and white tower with an FH324. Now this water tower is pretty new. They put it up last year. And here's two other monopoles. Alright, so I remember seeing this 911 tower. It has an LED. It's got a dial light LED with side markers. I remember accidentally finding this one on Google Maps before, and these two right here even. The red and white one there in the background's a ham radio tower. And here's the monopole, another intersection I've seen that was beaconless, but I'm pretty sure this one used to have a beacon, but since it's under 200 feet, they probably had to remove it. Alright, so this tower's pretty unique. Now, when I seen this tower in person, I thought it had two dual strobes, which it does. That's what I find unique about it, but the antenna is empty, so there's, yeah. This is what I call a tower with the 2 dual strobes on it. I wonder what its side markers are like. But anyway, this monopole right here is abandoned. It was like taken abandoned in 2013. But yeah, this tower is pretty cool with the 2 dual strobes like that. This one's like one of the iconic towers in a nearby city. And here's the Lattice Tower that stands by a railroad and a highway bridge that goes over the same highway with the tower with the 2 dual strobes. And I think this tower here might be a new tower, because it has an LED, and I don't remember seeing this one the last time I ever been to this city. So it's gotta be a new tower, or it's been modified to look different now. And here's an FM tower that's got 2 sets of FH324s. I believe this one used to have modern incandescents all the way up until 2012. And here's a Spectral Slate communications tower. This one's been decommissioned, and it still exists, but it has an LED now. So I'm not sure if they're going to take the antennas off and put new ones up, because a new company might buy it when it's abandoned. And here's a monopole with no platform at the very top. This one used to, but the company decommissioned the top platform and they took it off. Here's another tower with 3 sets of FH324s. It now has FTS 370s with flashing side markers. But yeah, it kind of sucks how they replaced the FH324s, but I'm not really a fan of dual strobes that much. And I just had to add this water tower to this video. It's a very small one, and it's got cellular antennas on the top of it. It's beaconless. And a beaconless monopole across the road from it too, with 1 microwave dish and a 5G antenna. This one had a modification when I seen it that one time. And so as this one had the modification too, and there's a FM tower in the background. And here's one that used to have 6 platforms, but sadly it's got 2 platforms now. It's another beaconless monopole, so yeah, I'd say it probably used to have lots of beacons, or at least 2 sets of beacons, because it was tall enough to have 2 sets of beacons, like FH306 beacons, and maybe 3 sets of side markers. So yeah, it probably had lots of those beacons. And now, here's one that's about the same size as this one, except the one right here is beaconless, so it's probably newly installed. Because when I seen this one, there was like dirt around the bottom station to it, so yeah, it has to be a new installation. And here's a monopole with an LED. This one's beside 2 water towers. Oops. Yeah, so it's got an LED, and the top platform was abandoned. And here's the 2 water towers it sits by. Both have marker lights to them. And another beaconless one behind some kind of store. And this one is, these 2 towers here are duos because they're close together. Now on the bottom of this right there, that thing is, that's a new platform. Because when I seen this one, when I visited it in person, it had 2 platforms on it. So yeah. Alright, so here's an abandoned cell phone tower that got repurposed. Now the platform on this one's the new platform. It was like just a pole for a while with nothing on it, but now it's got the... I just discovered this one, it just now got repurposed, but I didn't know it did, because Google Maps shows it as a pole. Yeah, so it was repurposed. Now here's a tower that's very tall, but it only has 1 FH324, and it has 2 sets of side markers. Now since this one has 2 sets of side markers, I'm going to assume this one used to have 2 sets of FH324s, but for some reason maybe they took off the 2 at halfway up the tower. And here's one that now got an LED. It used to have a Honeywell dual strobe, the older kind, but it now has an FTS 370, so it sucks how this one was replaced into the new beacon. Now here's one of those cell towers that used to have 3 platforms, but it doesn't anymore. The lower platform was one that was taken off of this beaconless tower. Okay, so I didn't know that this tower existed until I visited in person. either I forgot about it from one of our trips or I didn't find it correctly on Google Maps. There's no beacons on this one that I know of because it's a small cell tower. But yeah, it doesn't have any beacons. Now here's a water tower beside this one. So yeah, it's a tower duo technically, but if that water tower, or I didn't consider water towers, it'd be a single tower. Now, when I was going to Dayton, there were these two towers that were hiding in the forest. I tried to film this tower duo, and way back in the forest behind them, there were these two towers hiding. There's this monopole, and there's this lattice tower. I didn't even know they existed. I'm trying to find street view of these towers, but I can't find any of street view of these towers because these towers are too small to actually see in the distance. So yeah, they're pretty small.